I have seen this all over the place, and it's absolutely insane. And I feel like mainstream media isn't even covering the half of it, to be honest. So I watched some like stuff from Court TV and other mainstream like true crime type YouTube channels and news outlets and stuff. And what we're talking about is Ruby Frank. She's a YouTuber, or I guess YouTuber. She used to have a channel called 8 Passengers that she started with her husband and 6 kids.
Okay.
And they were the 8 passengers,
Yeah.
So they started this YouTube channel, and it got a lot of attention. Like, I think at some point she had 2 million subscribers, a little over that. But over time, people started criticizing her parenting. And once you start looking at some of the clips, you understand why. There's several situations where here's one. 2 of her little boys are like giggling and messing with each other, and she's like, stop, basically what it looks like you're doing is hurting him, but they're laughing and having fun, and she's like, if you don't stop, you're gonna lose the privilege to eat. Also, another situation is her 6-year-old daughter forgot to pack her lunch for school. Goes to school, teacher calls and says, she didn't bring her lunch today. Could you drop it off? And she said no. And she doesn't want anybody else to give her food either, because she should be responsible and pack her own lunch. That's her job, is to pack her own lunch, and she forgot. So, and she said, the teacher really just wants me to satisfy her uncomfortability. It makes her uncomfortable, her not having food and being hungry, and she won't do it, basically. There's another situation where she took away her son's bed for literally I think it was a month, and he slept in a beanbag chair as a punishment. So, much scrutiny for a while, and then she meets a woman, which this is interesting. So one of her older sons gets in trouble. She's Mormon, okay? She's part of the Mormon church in Utah. She sends, which it's a known thing in the Mormon religion to send their kids, when they're in trouble, to these places, these camps, basically, for kids.
Okay.
And he gets a therapist basically assigned to him, and she's a therapist that works with the Mormon church. Okay. That woman's name is Jodi Hildebrandt. Now, this woman is notorious, as I've come to find out while researching the case. Some of the things I've heard are just downright shocking about this woman. But she gets assigned to the son, and then Ruby meets her and I guess starts getting help for her and her husband's marriage.
Okay.
Now, Jodi has focused on helping people with porn addictions and things like that. And so I listened to a really interesting interview, and the guy's name, I'm blanking on it right now. I forgot to write it down. But it's through Hidden True Crime, which it's an incredible interview, and I'm so happy they did it because I feel like it revealed a lot, a ton about Jodi Hildebrandt. His name is Adam Steed, okay? They have part 1 and part 2 of an interview with him, and he goes into detail of what what Jodi did to him ruined his marriage, ruined his life in a lot of ways, and he was a survivor of child SA.
Okay.
And he had an issue with watching porn, goes to get help for him and his marriage, and what she does is, like, she basically creates a system where you have to, like, all these problems in your life are really just addictions. And, she somehow, like, gets the wife involved and is like, you need to refrain sex with him.
Okay.
And then no more sleeping in the bed together. And then this whole thing, he talks about how she, like, believes, like, there needs to be a death in the relationship. Like, your relationship needs to die to become brand new. But really what ends up happening is they just get a divorce. And this person never gets better because they're in this place of shame, having no sex, being, like, outcasted from their relationship, basically. And they're literally just going to become more obsessed with porn. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just not healthy.
Yeah.
Okay? She violates his HIPAA rights by sharing records with, like, a university or something like that he was going to at the time. A lot of her teachings align with the Mormon faith, though. So you have that element here.
Jeez.
And Ruby Frank was recently arrested for child abuse. And that's what we're going to get into here. But I'm giving some background of, like, how this could have happened. Because Court TV was saying, well, I think Ruby Frank was a YouTuber, and, you know, people get bored with family channels when it's the same old. So I think she was, like, going extreme to get the views. No. Don't believe that at all. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Abusing your children is not a way to get views, in my opinion. Like, and I don't think that was her aim here at all. Like, oh, more extreme with the abuse and that'll get the views. Like, no, that'll get your kids taken away. Like, and then no views and no money.
Yeah.
Like, when people abuse their kids, typically they try to hide it. But she didn't. She broadcast it to the world, which makes me think that she really thought this was, like, a parenting style and technique that was okay.
It sounds like it.
So,
Gosh.
Why did she think it was okay? Okay, so we were just talking about the Steed interview, okay, on Hidden True Crime, and how this woman literally destroyed his relationship with his wife. Apparently, within the Mormon religion, he was already having trouble with being a child SA survivor, and people looked at him like, can you be around kids because you're a survivor? Like, you might be an abuser. And she really adds to the stigma. She added to his porn addiction. She added to the strife in his relationship. And him and his wife get a divorce. And it's ugly and it's bad. And she completely turns his wife on him. And you also have the issue with these camps and the way the Mormon religion, for some reason, I don't exactly understand it, but there are channels that can help you understand it. And I'll cite a few on screen now that I feel like have been covering the Mormon religion and child abuse very well. Like, they've done a really good job, but child abuse literally seems rampant in the Mormon community.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds really awful. There's people who are no longer Mormons that have channels that talk about these things. And I think it's interesting, and it deserves more light to be shed on it, because Mormons really like to hide this stuff. Like, in these states like Utah, their legislators are Mormon.
I know.
So
it's crazy.
They literally are like their own thing. Like, their whole state is like a legit Mormon state, and they can easily hide these things about their communities. And child abuse seems like it's a big one. So there was a cousin that came out that had some relation to Ruby Frank. It was kind of anonymous. But we just know it was like a cousin and a relative. She came out in an interview and said that when she was a child, she was abused in a very similar way to what Ruby Frank was doing to her children. And that this is multi-generational abuse that has been taught and repeated literally for generations.
Yeah.
So, what happened? Well, Ruby Frank was arrested August 30th, the evening of August 30th in Ivins, Utah.
Police say this is the house a young child escaped from and went to a neighbor's house asking for food and water. They said that that child was severely malnourished along with another one they found inside the same home. Now, we talked to neighbors in this area, and they said that they don't really know the homeowner of this home very well. But she's in business with a woman who has gained a huge following online, with YouTube videos getting hundreds of thousands of views.
So being a mom's a full-time job, but...
Popular Utah family vlogger Ruby Franke was arrested Wednesday. The 41-year-old mother of 6 is known for sharing clips of her children's daily lives on their now defunct YouTube channel, 8 Passengers.
No.
Today, she and her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, are accused of abusing some of them.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months, and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
You've been sleeping on a beanbag.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October, and they gave my room back like 2 weeks ago.
Police say a clearly malnourished 12-year-old child crawled out of the window of Hildebrandt's Ivins area home. A neighbor called 911 when he showed up at their house asking for food and water. Officers say his wrists were duct taped. He had wounds from being tied up across his body. Investigators say they found a 10-year-old girl inside the same house who was also malnourished. Franke's family vlogs ended without a specific reason given. Franke now works for the Utah County company Connexions along with Hildebrandt. It's described as a treatment program for those with mental health and addiction issues. Connexions has been the subject of a lot of controversy, specifically for its teachings on parenting. Many of Franke's siblings are also online content creators. Her sisters released a social media statement saying, quote, "Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jodi was arrested, which needed to happen. The kids are now safe." Franke's eldest daughter, Sherry, posted this picture on Instagram with the caption, "Finally." In the next slide, she said her family is glad justice was served. She wrote, quote, "We've been trying to tell police and CPS for years about this," end quote. The Santa Clara Ivins Police Department did not provide an update on the children's condition. According to the Washington County Sheriff's Office, Franke is still in custody. At this point, we know the Santa Clara Ivins Police Department is working with the Springville Police Department on this case. We will continue to bring you updates as we get them, both down here in southern Utah and up in Utah County. Shelby Lofton, KSL 5 News.
As well as Jodi Hildebrandt, which was her therapist. And this is after one of the sons shows up at a neighbor's house. So they're at Jodi's house, okay? Jodi's house, not Ruby's family home, but Jodi's house, where she is staying. Ruby is staying with Jodi, okay?
Okay.
Well, the little boy goes to the neighbor's house and is begging for help. And the neighbor notices he looks like he's been starved. Like he looks malnutritioned.
Yeah, malnourished.
And also, he has duct tape around his wrist and his ankles. And he has wounds around his ankles and his wrist from what I assume now were chains and ropes.
Oh my gosh.
So he calls 911 and he tells them about this, and the cops go check out the house and they find one of Ruby's daughters in the same condition. They're arrested. Family members come out, like the eldest sister and brother. The eldest sister, who's now an adult, has been saying like she's so happy this finally is being taken care of. The authorities have been alerted and the kids are safe. That a lot of the family has been trying for a while now to get help and do something. The father of the kids is estranged. Yeah. They're not together anymore. He said he had no idea. He's working hard to get his kids back. And thank God they're safe now. But now Ruby and Jodi are facing child abuse charges for this. They were literally starving them and chaining them up. And why? So basically, Ruby canceled her channel. So when she met Jodi, it's really interesting because basically the timeline is she had this YouTube channel with her family. Son has trouble, goes to this like therapy type camp for children, which Paris Hilton went to one, by the way.
All right.
Yeah. So, and abuse is rampant in those. Gets this therapist. Then the wife, Ruby, meets with her and starts seeking marriage help from her. That destroys their marriage in a very similar way to what happened to Steed, I think.
Okay. Yep.
Because this is what Jodi does. And there's many victims of hers that are just now coming out and talking about it because they were scared to before.
Yeah. Someone
because
had to break
the Mormon church backs this woman. So,
which is crazy because the Mormon church gives men all the power. And it sounds like what she does is tries to turn it and give the wife the power and turn against the guy, which is very strange. I'm surprised that the Mormon church backs that based off their beliefs.
yeah. So after she cancels the channel, okay, she starts... Ruby Frank basically becomes a therapist through Jodi, through like
Sure.
Jodi's
Yeah.
own little course.
Yeah.
Okay. And they make their own like YouTube channel and podcast together. And she totally like defunks on her YouTube channel and stops posting to it. And she makes some videos saying that her kids were becoming like entitled and she was saving her kids by stopping the YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah, by stopping the channel and chaining them up and not feeding them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Sounds super logical.
So this whole channel is based around parenting advice and marriage advice and these set of principles that Jodi and Ruby like to preach. And it's all the same things I was talking about earlier, like everything's an addiction. And there's, it's just so strange. It's really strange because at face value, a lot of it sounds like healthy advice. But then as you dig deeper and you follow all their principles, you realize they're literally setting you up. Like, this sounds like a cult they're trying to start, to be honest.
Not surprising.
But yeah, it's... Okay, so... Connexions... What is the channel called again? I don't know. I'll find it in a minute.
Yeah.
But, so...
Or I will have posted it on the screen.
Yeah, I want it for the audio listeners, too. But, man. Yeah, I thought I had it on here. I don't see it right now. Connections. In June 2022, Frank announced she was forming a new channel called Connexions. So it's literally just Connections with a big X in the middle.
So spell it.
Conne big X IONS. Yep. Yep, all about... It's just so ridiculous. Yep. So a lot of people were labeling it like a cult. They're kind of describing it as like a support group.
Yeah, it looks like it's taken
A
down.
mom's support group. It was taken down right after their arrest.
Oh, good.
Yeah, thank God. So here's a description from Insider. Frank and Hildebrandt's channel caused concern straight away with onlookers labeling Connexions a cult. It describes itself as a mom support group it claims to help treat those lost and stranded in the darkness of distortion, which is a key word for them. They call everything distortion. It's really weird. Which addictions, fear, sadness, and all other destructive behaviors derive from. All these things derive from distortion. but has been criticized as damaging, extreme, and authoritarian in its teachings. So I find it really interesting that clearly she was already abusive before meeting Jodi.
Yeah.
But it got so much worse after meeting her. And it's interesting that the cousin came out and said she was chained up and duct taped as a kid. And that these literal exact same things happened to her. So it's not just Jodi that is like telling her to do this. This is something that for some reason is repeated in multi-generations in Mormon families.
Whoa. What?
And it's hidden. That's what's coming out. And these camps for troubled kids. And all this shame around masturbating. Get your masturbate on. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop. People can watch porn and masturbate without being addicts, okay?
Yeah.
So, anyway, in one video, Frank and Hildebrandt said parents should not love their kids unconditionally. In another, Frank gave multiple reasons children shouldn't be listened to and said they don't deserve privacy. They've also freely made homophobic, transphobic, racist, and ableist comments, which is another big thing that I have seen other therapists and, various mental health professionals talk about in this case, is the fact that she was so bigoted in a lot of her teachings, and that this is absolutely against the code of conduct for a therapist or mental health professional, that they take an oath and that they are not supposed to be biased like that.
Yeah.
And I totally agree, and obviously,
Yes.
she knows that if she's went to school for this, that she shouldn't be doing that, but she's backed by the Mormon Church. Like, she works with Mormons, and they all, not all of them, clearly. I don't want to put them all in a box, because clearly there are Mormons out there that are good people and aren't doing these things. And shout out to you. But there's some kind of underground, okay, where these things are absolutely
Very
happening.
culty and yes.
Yep. But I find it, her eldest daughter, Sherry, literally cut off contact from her mom after all of this. And when you look at all the clips...
Good.
I know. When you look at the clips of their family channel, there's a lot of situations I saw where, she would go to film her kids and they would, run away, or they wouldn't be smiling. They look miserable all the time.
That's so sad. So if you see that stuff happening on camera, what is happening off?
Right.
Sounds like a power-hungry situation that is destructive, self-destructive, and destructive to the people accountable to her, her children.
It's really, really sad. But I guess on the night of her arrest, her eldest daughter, Sherry, made a post on Instagram of a police car saying, finally, and another saying, today has been a big day. Me and my family are so glad justice is being served. We've been trying to tell the police and CPS for years about this, and so glad they finally decided to step up.
Wow. That is kind of scary, if that's what's been going on.
I know. Kids are safe, but there's a long road ahead. Please keep them in your prayers and also respect their privacy. And these are the posts right there.
Jeez. That's kind of terrifying. And hearing that, this is just one we're seeing.
I know.
What about the ones that they help that we aren't seeing?
I know. And Jodi's had tons of people in her support groups and following this stuff. And there's the weird Mormon part of it that I don't really understand, because I'm not Mormon and I'm not in that community. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I want to reference the channels that have been covering this, because they're doing a really good job. Really, really good job. And I feel like Jodi is not a Mormon person who's truly believing in these beliefs, I feel like she is manipulating their religion and taking advantage of it for her own benefit. I don't know if she gets off on controlling people's lives and destroying marriages, but she's got lots under her belt. Lots of destroyed marriages under her belt. And it's really sad.
It is sad. I just can't imagine the kids aspect. Like,
I know.
Dude, a kid is a blank chalkboard. They don't know up from down, left from right until they're taught what is up, what is down, what is left, what is right. And these kids are having to deal with the one thing that everyone does understand, that's hunger. You know, it's something that you're going to feel whether you know what that means or if you're in control of it or not. And they're starving their kids by tying them up with chains and duct tape to the point where they're having like physical damage that you can see on their wrists and ankles. That's scary stuff.
And starving them to the point where you see physical damage.
That is terrifying.
This child literally climbed out the window to escape and went and knocked on the neighbor's door and begged for food and water and asked them to call the police. He literally said, "Call the police. I need help."
Wow.
It's so incredibly disgusting. And I couldn't, like I said, mainstream media wasn't talking about the Jodi aspect. They keep saying the business partner. They had this channel together. It was kind of messed up. But they don't go into the history of this woman. This woman has an extensive history of doing this kind of things with other families.
Yep. Ruining relationships.
She's a monster. I really suggest going and listening to that Steed interview on Hidden True Crime because he really gets into it, and you can tell he's a traumatized person, okay? But he really gets into it, and what he's saying is 100% from what I've seen factual because he is the only person that she's done this to thus far to have tried to get her held accountable.
Wow.
Like through the court and stuff. Like there's literally court documents of him with her sharing his medical information and all this stuff.
Wow.
So I believe everything he's saying, and based off of her teachings on the YouTube channel and things we've seen, everything he's saying checks out, especially with what was going on with Ruby.
Yeah, that's incredibly scary.
She meets her and then her marriage is over. And then the kids, like, are abused even worse?
Which, again, I go back to being so surprised because the man of the house is such an important idea in Mormonism. So, gosh, it's strange. It's really strange. And it makes me wonder if this is what we're seeing for, like, one of their own kids who are involved in this. How bad has it gotten with others? Do we have a history of children dying that we're going to be able to connect dots to here? Do we have... I would be curious to look at all of the people that she's been a therapist for. How many of them ended up getting a divorce?
Yeah.
How many of them ended up getting a divorce?
I want to know that too. I feel like this arrest has already been uncovering a ton of issues in the Mormon community and the people who sought help from Jodi and Ruby now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to uncover a lot more. Like, a lot more.
Which is good. In these situations, if you're Mormon, like, great, I fight for your rights, but we got to be able to hold ourselves accountable to a high standard, especially in positions that have a power aspect to it, like a church, law enforcement, justice system, government, politicians, things like this, right? Nobody likes change, but things like this cannot happen. They cannot happen. Mm-hmm. These two people are monsters if they're letting it happen. This should not fall under one of those things where, like, well, I was manipulated by her into thinking that this was... No, these are children. These are humans. These are people that need you, literally need, not want, need you to be there for them and help them get through life and get into adulthood. And you're teaching is to starve them and tie them up?
You want to know, after Steed and his wife were going to Jodi for marriage help, you want to know an example of that he gave of how delusional his wife was after going to her, and like she was following what Jodi was saying? He said they got into an argument and she called the police on him and told the police that he was abusing her. And they said, okay, well, how is he abusing you? He violated my boundary. And they were like, okay, like, how did he violate your boundary? She said, it was something he left on the couch that he didn't put away.
No.
Yes, and he said to, like, the police, like, were trying to explain to her how this is not abuse.
Oh my gosh, she was like mentally twisted that she thought abuse was him not putting something away in like a timely manner.
And that was violating her boundaries, and that means it's abuse.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Jeez, that
I'm
feels
telling
fake.
you,
Like, that is gnarly.
You have to listen to his interviews, though, and
I'm excited to. I want to, because that is wild stuff, you guys.
He also talks, he's supposed to be going on another podcast, and I think it's called Mormon Stories?
Yeah, Mormon Stories podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Mormon Stories podcast, and he's supposed to be going on there. There's an interview apparently with Jodi's niece that I haven't got to listen to yet, but I want to. But there's another one with another channel, and they're ex-Mormons, and they go pretty deep into this stuff. And it's really interesting, and I suggest you check it out.
This video popped up called 8 Passengers Shocking Therapy Videos by Jodi under Mormon Stories podcast. It's 3 hours long and was posted 2 days ago. That must be it.
Yeah. That must be I don't think that's his interview.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Steed guy, he's supposed to be going on Mormon Stories and doing an interview with them, or with him, the guy that runs it. But he did one on Hidden True Crime first, and I'm looking forward to listening to his interview. But they already have on Mormon Stories multiple videos about this case, and they do a really good job covering it. And I felt like I really got a better understanding of what was going on here than what the mainstream media has been reporting, and I feel like that's important. It's important to know the truth, that there's some kind of abuse being hidden in this community. And also, this woman has been abusing her position as a therapist to break up marriages and possibly assist people in abusing their children.
Yeah, that is wild. That is so wild. It sounds fake.
I know.
And maybe that's why news isn't covering it, because it's one of these things you hear and you're like, wait, what? No way. It sounds like something you're going to hear on the Inquirer or something, you know? It's like crazy.
I want to know what this woman's dysfunction is, Jodi.
Yeah.
Like, what
Distortion.
is driving... Yeah. What is driving her to do this?
Her brain is distorted.
I think Steed also said in his interview that he basically said that she would kind of flip it into this, like, your addiction is the problem, not what you do. Like, basically turning it into your actions don't matter.
Okay. Strange.
Isn't your actions the only thing that
The
matter?
only thing that matters? Yeah.
Like, she would...
You can't control your thoughts, but you can control what you do.
Right.
Yeah. That's crazy stuff.
It is really crazy.
Yeah.
Super crazy.
Yep.
Like, demented. Like, she is distortion.
Yeah,
that is
I know.
who she is.
I know. Yep. She's causing the madness.
But, you know, I really hope these kids can get on the right track and that their father will, step up and take care of them, and that he is not a part of this or ever has been. I really hope not.
I hope so too.
Because clearly it was going on when he was still with her. The abuse was happening. It may not have been to this extent, but it was happening when they were together and doing their family channel.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's why they're not with the dad. They're in state's custody because there's proof that he was in the home while things were happening that were abuse. Because denying a basic need like food, that's absolutely abuse.
Oh, yeah.
Period.
Of course.
Saying if you don't listen, you're not going to be able to eat dinner tonight, abuse.
Yep.
And if he sat by and thought that was okay, then I don't think he's fit to be a parent.
I agree.
So, I hope there's some family out there that isn't involved in this and can help take care of the kids. Even if it's their sister, because clearly she made it out of it and knows all of these things are wrong. And maybe her, and I think there's a son that's also an adult now. So
it's a wild story.
It is, and I can't wait to see how this turns out with her in court. Because I'm sure they're going to plead not guilty, and I'm sure this is going to be a trial.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
But we should watch some of the craziness on the live stream.
Yeah, we should.
Because some of the videos are just nuts.
Yeah. We'll watch it. Be there.
Yeah, and let me know what you guys think about this case. If you know any more about this, I don't know, underground in the Mormon community with child abuse. I didn't know that existed.
I've heard of it before. But,
you have? But yeah.
Let us know.